You're tuning into the Uncensored Pro Wrestling Podcast, the only wrestling podcast covering WWE, AEW, and TNA. Let's get uncooked, uncorked, and uncensored.
What's up, everybody? You are checking out the Uncensored Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, the Hot Commodity Ant C, and today we are covering AEW Double or Nothing 2025 live in Glendale, Arizona.
I'm here.
The Hot Commodity Ant is here as well. And this is actually the home of the Bella Twins, Glendale, Arizona. So maybe Nikki and Bree showed up. Nikki was bitching the other day on her podcast about how, she has to pay, child support to Artem. And she's like, I broke my neck for that money.
I wonder how she feels about her stepdad in court right now.
She don't give a fuck because they're divorced.
Oh, they are?
I think they separated, once everything came out. She's like, but the mother's like, I am not being a part of this. I'm not freaky. She's like, I'm out. Well, we're covering, like I said, AEW Double or Nothing. We have the main event, the Owen Hart Cup for the men's, Adam Page versus Will Ospreay. And to kick off the night, we have the women's Owen Hart Cup tournament finals. Jamie Hayter versus the AEW TBS champion, Mercedes Moné. Mercedes lands a meteor off the apron to the floor, and then she applies a camel clutch and then a backstabber, and then Mercedes lands the Three Amigos a la Eddie Guerrero. Jamie Hayter lands a superplex, and then she lands a flying clothesline off the steps, but as Jamie's running into the steps, she kind of hits her leg, and it looked like a botch. Jamie applies a sleeper hold and then lands a tombstone pile driver for a 2. And Mercedes rolls up Jamie Hayter, and Mercedes Moné is the 2025 Owen Hart Women's Cup winner. And she'll be also taking on the winner of the AEW Women's title match, Toni Storm or Mina Shirakawa, later on tonight. A decent opener. I kind of wanted to see Jamie Hayter win because Mercedes wins everything.
I feel like the Owen Hart title should go to an up and coming person and to give them something. And what is one more belt on Mercedes right now? Nothing. What would it mean to Jamie Hayter, who doesn't have a belt? It's just, I feel like it's a very wasted opportunity. However, I do get, in the long run, in the big picture, I would like to see her versus Toni Storm, though.
We'll see. Next up, we have FTR with Stokely versus Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness. And they have Daddy Magic, Mike Menard, with them. Cash Wheeler hugs Daniel to start the match to kind of get under his skin. Cash hits Nigel with a Tower of London to the floor. And then Daniel Garcia applies the Dragon Tamer to Cash. Nigel and Daniel apply double submissions to both men in the middle of the ring. Nigel makes Cash apologize to Tony Schiavone for saying mean things about him. Dax hits a super spinning suplex, and then Cash lands a flying elbow drop to Garcia for a 2. FTR hit Nigel with a shatter machine on the floor. FTR spike pile drive Daniel Garcia. Garcia gets his foot on the ropes, and the end comes when Dax Harwood applies a sharpshooter Garcia, and Garcia passes out. Interesting to point out that Garcia didn't tap out, he passed out. So they didn't make Daniel Garcia look weak here. But I did like seeing Nigel McGuinness in the ring. He's a great wrestler. He can't compete full-time, I think, because of his injuries, but it was good to see him in the ring. And FTR, when they were in WWE, they were the Revival, and they were one of my favorite tag teams there. And they're good here, too. Any thoughts?
It was a good match. I've never seen Nigel fight before, and he was cool. I liked it. I like Daniel Garcia, and it was a decent match.
Fuck the Revival, FTR. Next, we have a stretcher match, Ricochet versus Mark Briscoe. And this is the first ever stretcher match in AEW. It's different than a WWE stretcher match. Usually in those matches, you just put the opponent on the stretcher and wheel them over a line and you win. This match had it all. They had a fucking ambulance, the fucking ambulance alarm going off. It was intense. So Ricochet accidentally lands a shooting star press onto the stretcher, so Mark Briscoe lands an elbow drop to Ricochet. On top of the stretcher, he falls off, and then Mark lands a flying elbow drop to the floor. Mark sprays and shines Ricochet's bald head, and then hits Ricochet with a bucket. Ricochet puts Mark in the ambulance, but Mark uses a crutch to stop the door from closing. Next, we see Mark Briscoe land a J Thriller, and then Mark lands a flying elbow drop through a table on the floor. Ricochet then stabs Mark with scissors and stabs him numerous times, and Mark is a bloody mess. Ricochet hits a low blow, the Spirit Gun, and then puts Mark Briscoe on the stretcher and closes the ambulance. Ricochet gets the win here. Brutal, bloody match. You know, it was crazy to see Mark Briscoe bleed like that, but what'd you think?
It was okay. I think I like to see Ricochet like do more of his high flying stuff, and I feel like he doesn't do as much of that in AEW. But it was different to see him in like a hardcore match, and it was okay. But like I said, I like to see him do what he's good at.
That's fucking Samantha Irvine. Next, we have the AEW Tag Team Champions, the Hurt Syndicate, with MVP and MJF in their corner to take on the Ring of Honor Trios champions, Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes here. Bobby hits a spine buster to Sammy and a flipping power slam for a 2 count. Lashley then spears Rhodes through the railing. And then Shelton Benjamin hits Sammy with a thrust kick, and the Hurt Syndicate retain the Tag Team Championships. Pretty basic match. The only cool thing was seeing Dustin Rhodes go through the railing, but we knew the Hurt Syndicate was going to win this going into it. But, you know, really nothing to talk about here.
Yeah, it was basic. It's always good to see old Goldust out there. He's still killing.
Remember the name. Next, we have the AEW Continental Champion, Kazuchika Okada, defending against Speedball Mike Bailey. Bailey lands a moonsault to Okada on the floor. Okada then DDTs Mike Bailey. Bailey lands a springboard moonsault and a missile drop kick. Bailey then hits a Falcon Arrow, goes for a shooting star, but Okada gets his knees up. Okada then drop kicks Bailey off the top rope to the floor. Bailey lands a backflip knee drop on the apron to Okada, and both of his knees went right into the ribs of Okada there. Mike jumps into a drop kick, and then Okada hits the Rainmaker, and Okada defeats Mike Bailey to retain the championship. I thought Mike was going to win because Okada has been champion for a while, but it was a decent match and a good effort from Mike.
They said that Okada has been champion longer than any other champion in AEW.
I mean, but it was a good match. Mike is from TNA, so I didn't think he was going to win right away. But if they do have a rematch, I think Mike will.
Did they say who he's fighting at the next one? I thought they did.
No, not yet. Okay. Next, we have the AEW Women's Champion, Timeless Toni Storm, with Luther defending against Mina Shirakawa here. Mina applies an inverted figure 4, which looked actually pretty cool. Like, I'd never seen that done before. Mina then rams Tony's leg across the turnbuckle post. Tony lands a backbreaker and a fisherman suplex for a 2 count. Mina then punches Luther and lands a tornado splash to Tony off of Luther on the floor. Tony hits a sky high for a 2, and then Mina lands a flying twisting neckbreaker for a 2 count and a glamour driver. Tony hits a hip attack in the corner, a headbutt, and a Storm Zero, and Toni Storm retains the AEW Women's Championship. Afterwards, Tony and Mina make out, which I'm sure a lot of the single straight guys were having a good time seeing. And we now know at AEW All In, it will be Toni Storm, or is it All Out? All Out. It's going to be AEW Women's Champion Toni Storm defending against Mercedes Moné. And this is like a dream match. I mean, we haven't seen this. These are the 2 top females in AEW right now, and it made sense to have them fight. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I also think Mercedes Moné is undefeated right now, but I'm pretty sure Toni Storm's going to beat her because I can't picture her having every belt. I mean, you never know, though.
I hope not. Next, we have Anarchy in the Arena. We have the team of Swerve Strickland, Willow Nightingale, Powerhouse Hobbs, Shibata, Samoa Joe, and Kenny Omega against the Death Riders, which is Jon Moxley, Marina Shafir, Wheeler Yuta, and Claudio Castagnoli, and they're teaming up with the Young Bucks. This is just pure chaos. They play a bunch of different music. They start off with "I'm So Excited." Then they play "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor" like nonstop. The Young Bucks come out wearing like Revolutionary War gear because they sort of started AEW. Kenny Omega comes out with a Captain America shield. Uh, Kenny Omega lands a superplex to Nick Jackson off the ramp through an exploding table, which is kind of crazy to see. Swerve Strickland's tongue gets stapled, which is kind of crazy. Gabe Kidd, who I've never heard of, shows up and attacks the good guys. Hook helps out Swerve's team. Swerve hits a swerve stomp to Matt Jackson with thumbtacks in his shoes, and Swerve, Willow, and the Ops and Kenny Omega get the one. This is just a chaotic match. I don't care for these because it's just like it's harder to write what happens because there's so much going on.
And I think it would have been better in a cage, definitely.
But yeah, the Death Riders got what was coming to them. Willow had her fucking gauge tied up to the fucking ropes at one point. Chaotic, crazy match. We now have a 6-man tag match. The Don Callis family, which is Konosuke Takeshita, Josh Alexander, and Kyle Fletcher, taking on the team of Paragon, which is Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, and the AEW TNT champion Adam Cole. It's basically Undisputed Era. They just have a different name. Takeshita and Alexander double team Roderick Strong on the floor. Roderick lands an Olympic slam to Takeshita. Cole jumps into a super kick by Kyle Fletcher. Josh Alexander lands a German to Cole, and Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita double boot Adam Cole. Takeshita hits a super power bomb to Adam Cole for a 2 count, and then Kyle O'Reilly lands a flying kick to Takeshita in a chair. Roderick Strong lands a backbreaker to Alexander on the railing, and continue chaos in this match. O'Reilly applies a guillotine to Kyle Fletcher, but Kyle Fletcher reverses and lands a brain buster, and the Don Callis family defeats Paragon here. After the Don Callis family attack until Brody King, Tomohiro Ishii, and Hiroshi Tanahashi show up and destroy the family, and Kyle Fletcher gets laid out. Basic match, really not a lot going on here. I wanted Paragon to get the win, but Don Callis' family usually wins in all these matches.
Also cheated. Don Callis kicked one of the guys. Yeah. And they had an extra person out there, too.
Yeah, it just didn't really do much for me. We've come to our main event, the men's Owen Hart Cup tournament final. The winner will take on AEW champion Jon Moxley at All Out. Hangman Adam Page versus Will Ospreay. Page lands a fallaway slam to Ospreay into the railing. Ospreay lands a cardiac kick and a torture rack bomb for a 2 count. Page lands a moonsault to the floor and applies a sharpshooter, which was very cool since it's the Owen Hart Cup. Adam Page tombstones Ospreay for a 2 count, then lands an Angel's Wings for a 2 as well. Ospreay hits the hidden blade and lands a style clash off the apron to the floor to Adam Page. Page goes to hit a Deadeye on the desk, but the desk collapsed underneath them, and I immediately said Botchmania there because they fucked that up. Page then decides to hit a Deadeye on the broken desk, hits a buckshot lariat for a 2. Ospreay lands a Stormbreaker and the V trigger. Page hits back pressure, but Ospreay gets his foot on the ropes. And the ending moment comes when Page lands a buckshot lariat, and Adam Page is the 2025 Owen Hart Men's Cup winner. And we will see Adam Page versus Jon Moxley at All Out.
It was one long.
It was like a 36-minute match, is what I heard. After the match, Ospreay and Adam Page shake hands. But yeah, what did you think of the long main event?
It was really good. They both had really good spots. They did a pretty good job at keeping your attention for as long as the match was. They did keep it pretty exciting. It started out a little slow, I think, but yeah, it was good, and I'm excited to see Hangman versus Moxley.
For this being like their, because this was the first pay-per-view that they had, and you always ask me what's their WrestleMania. I'm assuming this is their WrestleMania because this is their first show, but it really was lackluster. They were getting you more prepared for
Well, the next one's in
All Out. Yeah. But you gotta remember, people are paying $50 to get this. I mean, we're watching it for free because we're online, but
besides the Owen Hart matches. Like,
no, there was the Owen Hart, the women's, the tag team. Well, they got Anarchy in the arena, which I didn't really care for, and I really don't think they should play the song over and over and over and over again. Like, it makes no sense. They'll cut it for a second and they put it back. Like, why?
Yeah, and if they're gonna do the whole music thing, like they should play different songs. It would keep it more interesting.
Well, we've covered all of AEW Double or Nothing. We've got All Out coming up in a couple of weeks. On the WWE side of things, we've got Money in the Bank this next week coming up. We're on the road to SummerSlam. We've got Attitude Years, 2 more episodes before we hit Unforgiven. We are also the top 10. I don't want to mess it up. I'm going to say it right this time because last time when I was trying to say the name of this, I completely fucked up. We are number 10 of the top 20 WWE podcasts on FeedSpot. So join the community and check us out on YouTube. Subscribe, like, hit the notification bell. Also check us out on any podcast streaming that you're checking out. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and wherever you get your podcasts.
And tell your mom.
And your brother-in-law. And until next time, stay safe and stay uncensored.